This week's Parsha all about blessing. We find that Yaakov Avinu, our forefather Yaakov, gave special blessings to Yosef. More especially, gave special blessings to Yosef's children. But one blessing which actually Yaakov Avinu gave to Yosef himself, which is the last pasuk mentioned before Ravi. And I quote, "Va'ani nosati lecho Shchem achad al achecha." I have given you one Shchem more than your brothers. And I'll explain what the word Shchem means in a minute, because Rashi has two explanations. I will give you one Shchem more than your brothers. Asher lokachti, which I have taken miyad ha'emori, from the hands of the Amorites, v'charbi uvakashti, with my sword and with my bow. Okay, now, Rashi has two explanations on this pasuk. First explanation is Shchem Achad means the city of Shchem. As we know that Yaakov's sons, Shimon and Levi, conquered Shchem for the terrible deed, as a punishment for the terrible deed that Shchem had done by defiling their sister Dinah. So Shimon and Levi, even though it was without Yaakov's approval, they wiped out the entire city. But as a result of that, Namaisa, the sons of Yaakov, took over the city. They took control of the city. So Yaakov Avinu told Yosef, this city of Shchem, I'm going to give to you as an extra special gift. This will not be included in the division of the land, Eretz Yisrael, among the 12 tribes. Equally, you, Yosef, are going to get a privileged piece. You're going to get the city of Shchem. And that's what it means. I've given you Shchem over and above that which you have with your brothers. Which I took from the hands of the Amorites. That's a pseudonym for Shchem and the members of Shchem. With my sword and with my bow. And Rashi explains that not only did Shimon and Levi conquer the city, but afterwards Yaakov Avinu himself had to use his sword and his weapons in order to protect himself from the surrounding people who were very sore and upset what had happened, and they wanted to attack Yaakov and his sons. So Yaakov himself had to take up arms and protect them. That's the first explanation. But I'd like to dwell on Rashi's second explanation. Rashi explains the word Shchem doesn't refer to the city of Shchem. Shchem means a portion. I have given you one portion more than your brothers. Meaning, as we had before, that Yaakov Avinu had made Yosef into two tribes. Yaakov Avinu told Yosef, I was given a privilege by Kodesh Baruch Hu that one of my sons will become two tribes. Okay? So Yaakov Avinu was reiterating now to Yosef, I have given you an extra portion more than your brothers, that your children should be two tribes. Now that extra birthright, Yaakov Avinu says, I earned that birthright. How did I get hold of that birthright? Asher lokachti miyado meiri. I acquired that from the hand of the Amorite. Who is that Amorite? Esau. Because, as Rashi says, there's two explanations why he was called an Amorite. One was that he acted like an Amorite, okay, because he acted like a goy. He was opened up with the Zorah. He did all kinds of terrible averos like the goyim. And another explanation was Moiri, means he acted with his mouth. He deceived his father with his mouth. That's why Esau was called Moiri, because he deceived his father with his Amira Saper, with the words of his mouth. But, so now he says, if that's the case, what does it mean, B'charbi uvakashti? I took the birthright from the hands of Esav, B'charbi uvakashti, with my sword and with my... What does that mean? So Rashi himself addresses the problem. So Rashi says, what is B'charbi uvakashti? Hi chochmasi usfilasi. It's my wisdom and my prayer. Now, let's think about this. That Yaakov Avinu acquired the birthright from Esav and he says, how did I acquire it? With my wisdom and with my prayer. How did Yaakov Avinu get the birthright?
Trickery.
Not trickery, but he got at a point that he caught Esav when he was exhausted, hungry, and he says, well, this maybe he's weakened up a vessel, so therefore, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask him at this point to sell me his birthright. And afterwards the pasuk is made that he did it out of sound mind and body, even though he was exhausted at the point. But first Yaakov gave him food, and then he sold him for, as they say, for a mess of pottage, right, for a bowl of lentils. Okay? So this, Yaakov Avinu refers to b'chochmasi u'b'sfilasi, with my wisdom and with my prayer. Now, I've got two major questions over here which I want to address. Where does Rashi see these, my wisdom and my prayer, in the words b'charbi uvakashti, with my sword and with my bow? Where's that signified in the words, in my sword and in my bow, I signified my wisdom and my prayer?
But those are commandments.
Correct.
Okay, and Yaakov is saying, in some sense, it's a euphemism.
Correct, that's 100%. But where does it lie in the euphemism? In the euphemism, the actual meaning, my wisdom and my prayer.
Well, people say that a person who's smart is a sharp intelligence, a sharp mind.
Sharp tongue.
Okay, right. Right, a cherev, right? Okay, so then why is tefillah like a keshes, like an arrow?
Could you go like that? The stronger you pull it back,
So listen to what I want to say. And I have another major question. Okay, so you're saying very good, Yaakov. I'm going to be... I've got a second question. If I turn to Parshas Toldos, where we have the whole story that Yaakov bought the birthright from Esav. So it says the whole story. Esav came in tired, and Yaakov offered him, said, listen, you want some of my food, these bowl of lentils? Are you willing to sell the birthright in exchange for that? And Esav said yes, and he gave him food, and he first gave him bread, and then afterwards he gave him the bowl of lentils, and everything was fine, and Esav agreed to it. Where do we find that Yaakov Avinu uttered a prayer? Where's the tefillah there? There's no mention whatsoever of the tefillah. So I can understand the wisdom, Yaakov's wisdom. I see Yaakov's wisdom there. He found an opportune moment to catch Esav when maybe he was at a little bit of a weak point. So he used his wisdom. He used his astuteness to, at that point, he chose it. But where do we find he prayed?
The only place that we find is when he entered Eretz Yisrael and he met Esau, and he used his sefer and he divided his crew. And he
But we're not referring to that. We're referring to the acquisition.
I know.
Do you know what the answer is? What do you mean he didn't pray? I can honestly expect he did something that Yaakov Avinu made this whole spiel to make sure that he bought it, and he did not at that point address any prayer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Of course he did. And that's the lesson Yaakov Avinu is telling us over here. Don't think for one moment that I was relying entirely on my wisdom, on my astuteness. Of course it was together with a prayer. Anything which a Jew does, Jewish feels connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If he does something, and I'm going to give you an example in a minute. If a person he does something, and of course he does. He's supposed to do hashtaglis, something which he, you can't just sort of stand there and expect things to happen. He's got to do Ishtadlus. But he realizes that the Ishtadlus itself, what he's doing, is not the be-all and end-all. It has to go together with a prayer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu help me that what I'm doing, my action, should be successful.
By saying Be'ezet Hashem,
Right.
from a religious person, from a person, a patriarch like that, would that be, to us, a prayer?
Yes, of course.
Simple people, yeah.
Prayer doesn't mean, is it limited to 3 times a day? A person doesn't only daven when he's in shul and say davening Shachris, davening Mincha, davening Ma'ariv. A person can daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu at any moment of the day. And you don't have to be a Breslov of that either, right? Anybody, right? Any Yid. In fact, it's the Chofetz Chaim used to write in the Svarim, he says that person should find time every day to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Connect with Hashem. By
Connect with
doing
Hashem. Special time.
tefillah. Connect.
Right? So I'll give you an example. Let me give you a very simple example. Let's say a person wants to go to Bnei Brak. He's here in Yerushalayim, he wants to travel to Bnei Brak. So what's the obvious thing to do?
It's the boss.
Takes the bus. So now, there can be different levels. Let's say a person is sitting at home and he says, Hashem, I want to make sure I can get to Bnei Brak. Yeah? Kosh Baruch Hu, make it that I can get to Bnei Brak. So what could happen, somebody who's Mamash Abal Madrega, something could happen is, a second later, gets a phone call. Uncle, do you want to get to Bnei Brak? I'm going to Bnei Brak now. Maybe you want to ride? That could happen. Okay? But that person has to be on a very high madrega for that. It's not really the expected ishtadlus, expected action the person should do when a person wants to get to Bnei Brak is go to the bus stop and wait for the bus. Now, even if he goes to the bus stop, so you know what he says? Kosh Baruch Hu. Next stage can be, Kosh Baruch Hu, the person goes out in the street, not by the bus stop, he goes out of his house by the street, says, Kosh Baruch Hu, I want to get to Bnei Brak, please, Kosh Baruch Hu, make it that I should be able to get to Bnei Brak. So what can happen? He's standing outside, car pulls up, he says, hi uncle, I'm going to Bnei Brak, are you interested in going to Bnei Brak with me? That could happen as well. But again,
If you got a sign that says,
Bnei Brak, this also can happen as well. But anyway, that's not the normal expected level of Ishtadlus. What is the level of Ishtadlus normally expected of us? Is that we go to the bus stop, wait for the Bnei Brak bus to take us there, and there you go. But does that mean if we get on the bus to Bnei Brak and we pay our fare and we sit down, does that assure us that we're going to get to Bnei Brak? No. Anything can happen on the way. Many things can happen. So what I'm giving an example over here is everything we do, it has to be a combination of our input, our action, and together with our belief in our prayer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the input which we have done should be successful, then we should be able to achieve what we do. But Lamaisa ultimately, even though you ask many people from the outside, well, they'll think differently, but ultimately we should know that even whatever input we do, right, getting on the bus and paying the fare is not going to assure us of getting to Bnei Brak without Siyata D'Shmaya, without the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And similarly, taking that a little bit further, in our parnasa, when we work, yeah, everybody says, get a job, work from 9 to 5, yeah, you shall have enough to live on. That's not necessarily true. Person has to put his input, has to find himself a job. He can't live like a person on a high madrega can say, listen, I have enough belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'll just sit and learn, I'll just do everything, I won't do anything towards my parnasa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu send me parnasa. It could happen. But most people are not on that level. You have to make some sort of a ishtadlus. We've got to put our input, we've got to work, we've got to make an effort to earn money to be able to provide for ourselves. But even if we do, we have to realize that it's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All what we're doing is Sach HaKol, we're doing our bit of Hishtadlus, which is expected of us. That bit of Hishtadlus, that's what we're doing, but ultimately our parnasa comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I must tell you, it was many years ago, when I was still a bocher, must be going about 35 years ago, don't know if they have this in America, but in England, people have front yards, and often they put their garden gnomes, little figurines they put in their garden. It's very big. Anyway, one person there, I was walking with a friend of mine, and in the front yard of somebody's house there was, you often have these little things like a stick or something where the wind blows and the windmill turns round.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so this what was here was a little bit more adapted thing. It had a man cranking up a well, right? But the thing was very interesting. When the wind blew, so it turned down the thing, and the man would crank up the well, the bucket from the well even quicker. So my friend saw this. He says, "It's a Muradika Musa, Muradika lesson we can learn from this. A person thinks, you know what? I'm putting more effort, I'm cranking up the well, putting the thing." What he doesn't realize, the quickness and the effort which he's going to be successful in cranking up the well, that comes from the wind above. That comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? As much the person's success in his effort towards his parnasa comes entirely from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And not only that, I want to take another point. I don't know if I mentioned this story here before. Maybe when we learn in Chumash. A person would feel, okay, everybody's trying to achieve, to earn parnasa, and to have life easy. Person to make sure would love to have $1 million in the bank, and this way, he's settled for the rest of his life. He doesn't have to worry about parnasa. Yet, Shlomo HaMelech says, the nisoyin, the test of being rich, is harder than the test of being poor. And why is that? I'll tell you a beautiful story now. Chazal say that because the serpent, the Nochash, seduced Chava, Eve, to eat from the tree of knowledge, Eitz Hadas, he was punished. What was his punishment? So one of the things was, Ofor Tochal Kol Yemei Chayecha. You will eat earth all the days of your life. So Chazal explain, what does that mean? So Chazal have two explanations. One explanation is that whatever you eat will taste like earth. It would be ice cream, chocolate, beefsteak, pizza, doesn't make a difference. Whatever you eat will taste the same monotonous taste. Offer. That's one shot. The second shot is, and this is something amazing, the second shot is, your food will always be available to you. Just like earth, dust of the earth is always available. Wherever you go, you find it. You will have your food always available to you. So the question of this question is, that sounds like a blessing. It doesn't sound like a curse. That the Nocha should always have its food available. That sounds a tremendous blessing. So I heard a beautiful pshat from the Zev Lef Shlita, the Rav Matityahu, Moshe Matityahu. And he said a pshat, where did a pshat in this? And he illustrated it with a story that happened himself to him. Before he came to Eretz Yisrael, Rav Lef, he was a Rav in Florida, right, in Miami. Anyway, he used to, in the congregation there, he also used to give shiurim to boys, to young boys of the kehillah. So there was one kid there, who was a 15-year-old kid, I think, and he noticed that at that time he was looking very depressed. So he called him over and he said, "Tell me, what's up?" So he said, "Rabbi, I have to tell you my story. My parents are divorced, and I've been living with my father, and now my father met another woman, and my father wants to marry this woman. However, the woman gave an ultimatum to my father. He said, she doesn't want any kids in the house. So my father had to make the decision, should he marry this woman, or should he stay unmarried and stay with me? Anyway, after some deliberation, my father decided, he called me over one day, he said, "Son, I've decided I want to marry this woman." So here, I've rented you an apartment on the other side of town. You must have been 16 actually at the time. I bought you a car. You can have a car. Here's my credit card. You can spend as much as you want on it. But I don't want to see you anymore. I don't want to see you anymore. I want to have no connection. You're not to come to my house anymore. I'm getting married to this lady. We're starting a new life together. I don't want to see you anymore. You can understand why this boy was depressed. But, one second, he had his father's credit card. He had an apartment. He had a car. He had everything. So why is he depressed? Because his father said, I don't want to see you anymore. That's trapped by the Nachash. The Nachash, Kodesh Baruch Hu said to the Nachash, yeah, you can have food whenever you want. You don't have to ask me at all. You don't have any connection with me at all. I don't want to see you anymore. I want to have no connection with you whatsoever. You have all your food as you want, whatever you want. I want to have no connection with you. The nimshol is understood, right? So chas v'shalom, a person who has wealth is in a major nisayon, is a major test. A person who has wealth, he can use it for mitzvahs, he can use everything, and maintain his connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every day he say, thank you HaKadosh Baruch Hu for having given me enough food and enough money that I'll be able to provide for myself. But it's a test for him. He can be deluded and think to himself, I don't need HaKadosh Baruch Hu anymore. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me everything. Thank you HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bye. See you after 120 in Shemayim. Is that what a person wants? A person doesn't want that. It's not good for a person. It's a major test. Whereas a poor person who doesn't have anywhere what to eat, doesn't have fair food, and is constantly struggling for parnasa, he has to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu every day. His connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is assured, because he has to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu every day to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to help him. So what we can learn from here is that whatever we do, especially in our parnasa, we shouldn't rely and think, we're doing our bit. Whatever we do has to be accompanied with a prayer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please make us be successful. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make sure that we should have enough parnasa. But we have to, and if HaKadosh Baruch Hu does send us parnasa, does send us wealth, Be'ezus Hashem, it's Be'ezus Hashem. Right? It's always with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. Tomorrow we're commemorating Asara B'Teves. Asara B'Teves was when, at the time of the first Beis Hamikdash, the Nebuchadnezzar and his armies laid siege to the Yerushalayim and obviously the Beis Hamikdash as well. It says, after the Churban Beis Hamikdash, the Medrash says that one of the great philosophers, I think it was a Greek philosopher of those days, met Yirmiyahu Hanavi, and Yirmiyahu was weeping, crying. So this philosopher said to him, I don't understand you. A building is being burnt down, and you're weeping and crying? You're a man of wisdom, a man of intelligence. Why are you weeping over spilt milk, right? Crying over spilt milk. It's something physical. The building's been burned down. So Yirmi answered him, do you know where all my wisdom comes from? From this building. Do you know where all our shefa, all the tremendous prosperity which was in Mount Klal Yisrael, do you know where that all comes from? That comes from this building. What does that mean? Because when we had the Beis Hamikdash, it wasn't the building itself, it was the Shechina. It was the experience that when we came to the Beis Hamikdash, anybody who came to the Beis Hamikdash had no doubt whatsoever about the existence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that was there was so strong that anybody who was entered the Beis Hamikdash realized Hashem exists, Hashem is alive. And because he had that tremendous connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could shower upon us wisdom, prosperity, because when a person feels closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say, I can bring prosperity to Klal Yisrael, because when they see this prosperity, they're not going to say, wow, it came from whatever. They'll realize it came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, because when they had the prosperity, and they didn't connect it to Hashem, and they connected it to all the shtuyot of idolatry, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, okay, that's it. There's no point in my Beis HaMikdash anymore. They're not connecting to me. Right? They're connecting, they have the, whatever they have, the prosperity and the wisdom, whatever they have, they're not connecting it to me. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm taking away the Beis HaMikdash. But what do we see from there? That if we connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the more we connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more we will be deserving of HaKadosh Baruch Hu connecting to us and showering upon us prosperity. Be'ezus Hashem, we should be zoicher. The Chasam Sofer says that Asor B'Teves is like the Yom Hadin, whether the Beis HaMikdash will be built in that year. Be'ezus Hashem, we should put in our input, Be'ezus Hashem, in Asor B'Teves, and we should pray wholeheartedly that the Beis HaMikdash should be built, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will build, Be'ezus Hashem, the Beis HaMikdash, send us prosperity, the Gula Shlema, the Amen.